Welcome to the Expert in You podcast, the show for professional entrepreneurs, experts, authors, speakers, coaches, and consultants who are ready to elevate their business, expand their influence, and boost their bank accounts. Join us as we dive deep with industry-leading experts who share their top strategies, invaluable insights, practical tips, and personal experiences to help you achieve extraordinary growth and success. Whether you're looking to sharpen your skills, stay ahead of the curve, or find that competitive edge, this podcast is your ultimate resource for unlocking your full potential. So tune in, get inspired, grab your coffee, and let's unlock the expert in you. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Expert in You podcast. I'm your host, Dan Carden, and I'm really excited to dive in with my guest today. She is brilliant. In fact, I was just a guest on her podcast, and we'll share more about that later, and you can go check out her podcast as well. But I have Dr. Irena O'Brien with me. So Dr. O'Brien, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, and it's so nice to be here.
Tell everyone where you are in the world, first of all.
I'm in Montreal, Canada, and it's snowing right now.
Okay, we have beautiful weather here today in Missouri, so I'm over the snow. So glad we don't have that now. But Dr. Irena, why don't you just tell everyone what you do, who you are, and really how you help people. And then we're going to dive right into some really powerful conversation today.
So I'm a cognitive neuroscientist, and I have a program where I teach coaches about brain-based coaching. And so it's two levels. The first level is an applied neuroscience program, so it's a bit more sciencey, and it's really the basics. And then the second part of the program is about coaching and about how to take what you've learned in part one and really internalize it and embody it so that you coach differently.
Mm-hmm. Great. And how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for about 10 years now.
Okay. So a long time. And what got you into this? This is kind of deep work. So yeah, what got you interested in this, and then what made you want to go this direction?
Well, this is not my first career. I used to be a CPA. And then after my third child was born, I didn't want to go back to accounting. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to go back. So I wanted to do something else. So I went back to university. And I registered in psychology. And then in my first semester back, I took my first course in neurobiology, and I was blown away. I felt like my mind had been let out of a box. And so that started my love affair with neuroscience. And so I went all the way up to a PhD. I did brain imaging studies. And then after I finished, so obviously I was a mature student. I was older than everybody else. And so after I got my PhD, I did take a coach training program, but it wasn't something that I really wanted to do. My first love was neuroscience. I love reading about it. I love writing about it. I love talking about it. I love teaching about it. And that's what I do.
I love it. So I'm curious. So going from a CPA, which we're talking about a very analytical type of mind, even, and I know this came out on your podcast as we were talking about me helping people step into the spotlight and be seen. And you said, yeah, that was really hard for me. A CPA typically would not be someone that would do that, right? They're not someone they're more behind the scenes kind of people. I'm really curious, when you decided to step into this field, how you sort of assessed the kind of person you were as a CPA to now the direction that you wanted to go with this newfound passion and love that you have.
I don't think that the skills are different. The skills are basically the same. You're still analytical. Neuroscience is very analytical. Research is conducted in a certain way, right? And so, and you have to conduct it in that way. And so with research papers, I mean, you have to have the introduction, the method, and the discussion, and it progresses that way. And then you have to answer questions and new research, or research brings up new questions, right? And so that's for follow-up research. And then there's statistics that you have to do. And
that was perfect for you.
Yeah, I was a whiz at statistics. Like I remember taking a statistics course when I went back to university. So it was in my first semester back, I took the statistics course. And you know how often in university classes they put people on a bell curve?
Mhm.
I totally messed up the bell curve because I got 100% on that test.
Wow. I love that. You're really right when you talk about what it takes to do this. So I would love to, I have some clients that work with CPAs, and this wasn't the direction I was going to have the show go, but now I feel like, oh, this could be really valuable for people. So I have clients that work with CPAs, and I have even worked with them in the past, and even people that are very much like CPAs, how to get them to really want to do bigger things in their business or want to grow their business. Sometimes their logical brain gets in the way of them doing bigger things and taking next steps. So I would love to just sort of hear, why do you think a lot of CPAs are hard nuts to crack, so to speak, when it comes to for business coaches working with them? That's a really pointed question, but
Yeah. I can really only speak from a personal experience. I
mhm.
went into accounting because it was a safe profession. And
Mm,
that's what my dad drilled into me or drilled into us, right? You have to find a secure job. And
mhm.
so there was security in it. And I was good with numbers and I always liked math, although, the math in accounting is really not that difficult. But and I like math. And so yes, I mean I did thrive in it for a while,
Mhm.
but it just wasn't fulfilling anymore. Right. When so I was a tax accountant also. I mean, I branched out into tax accounting.
Mhm.
And it wasn't fulfilling when you ask a client, well, what is this expense about? And he says, oh, what's the most advantageous answer? So that didn't answer your question.
No, I think you actually did. And so I want to find out, okay, how can someone like myself who coaches people in business and even again working with clients that coach that are trying to coach CPAs or trying to help them grow their business? You said I went into it because it was safe.
Yeah,
And so there's, to me, yes, there's this safety factor around that particular profession. You don't really have to stand out. You don't really have to put yourself out there that much, as long as you, and even to me, doing tax work is even more safe because people have to have it. Like to me, people have to have accounting, right? Unless unless you don't have much going on where you can do it yourself. Most people, especially like people that are in business and people that are doing big things, they have to have professional accountants. It is a needed service. It's one of the one of the experts I say you need in your business to help you thrive in your business. So in a way, you did kind of answer because you said it's safe. But here would be my question for you, because you coach people on this. You help people break through those barriers, those walls. How can someone because there will be a lot of coaches listen to this and a lot of consultants listen. How can a business coach get to the emotional part of someone that's kind of a hard nut to crack, like a CPA, that probably really does want business growth, but one, they have too big of an ego because they think that they should know how to do it. And two, they like that safety. They're not willing to step out of what feels comfortable and safe. And this could apply to anybody. I'm just using CPAs because you were one. But how do you help someone get through to get to that next level when ultimately they probably really want it? I mean, most people don't go into business thinking, oh, I want to stay broke, or I want to stay grinding it out, right? I think everybody
right.
ultimately wants to grow. How can you break through to get them to take the actions and have the desire?
You have to tap into their dreams and their desires and their goals.
What if they don't know what they are?
They always have an idea. Well, then you have to help them find it. So there, I was speaking with someone, another coach. This was a while ago, and she asks her clients, so what do you want? And then she asks, well, what do you really want? And they give an answer. And then she asks, what do you really, really want? So if you dig enough, you can find that. And that is what activates change, right? And that activates the right brain network. So the correct brain network, it activates the default mode network. And that's where transformation really happens, because that's where self-reflection happens, right? And so you can even see how it feels different, right? When you're talking about your goals and dreams versus focusing on the steps that you need to take to accomplish what it is, right? You're in completely different brain networks, and it's the default mode network that's really the driver and the energy that gives you the energy to be in that task positive network.
I actually love what you just said. That is gold right there. What do you want? People are going to give you some surface level answer.
Yeah.
What do you really want? Now you're making them think deeper. And then what do you really, really want? And that makes them go even deeper. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That is so good. I'm going to use that. So good. That's gold, everyone. Take that, write that down. No, it's so true, because people do have like a kind of a knee-jerk reaction. Oh, well, I want to do this, but what do you really want? I was kind of in a mindset, like a leadership program, and they did this exercise where for like 3 minutes, they just beat you up saying, what do you want? 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 And you just had to off everything that just came to your mind. You had to just regurgitate it and spit it out. But by the end of it, it was like, wow, I didn't even know I wanted all those things. It was just so powerful.
Yeah, and it's not just about wanting things for your business, right? Because people have dreams, and goals for their families. They want certain things for their families.
Yeah.
And the business can help them get those things. And so it's important to activate that desire and that positive, it's a positive emotional attractor, right? To activate the positive emotion. Because just working on the tasks, that's a negative emotional attractor. And that is, well, it's negative. It's not fun, right? It's much less fun. And it also activates the stress response, or it activates the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight or freeze response.
Right.
And whereas if you're in the default mode network, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and relaxation response. And in fact, that's where we should be most of the time, is in that rest and relaxation response. Right? And then we exit it to accomplish stuff. And then we come back to it. So coaches should be tapping into their dreams and goals in every session.
That's so true. And sometimes as coaches, as a business coach, I am more strategic, more tactical, I'm not a life coach, right? And so I don't often get into so much the emotional side. I think I even shared this on your podcast, and I said, they're already ready when they come, when I start working with clients, they're ready for that next level. They're ready for their success. They're ready to do things. And we might have things along the way that I have to work them through, but for the most part, they're 90% there. And so, but I think everything that you're talking about is still good, because they still hit things that get tough. They still hit, everybody, anytime you're leveling up, there's roadblocks, there are obstacles, and they still hit those emotional moments where everything feels hard because it's different, it's new. And so I love that. And I do try to bring them back to what their mission is and why they're wanting to do this. But the fact that you said get people to, tap into that every single time, that's really a good technique that you're already making me a better coach, Irena, just being on here with me.
Well, thank you.
Yes. No, these are really great takeaways for people that they can literally go and apply immediately. Hi, friend. I have an exciting announcement. I hope you're enjoying this episode of Expert in You podcast, but I have to ask you, have you checked out the latest issue of Expert in You magazine yet? It's jam-packed with rich content, powerful strategies, inspiring stories, and so much more to help you elevate your business and personal growth. Don't miss out. Go grab your digital copy now and join our community of experts making a difference every day. Go to expertinyoumagazine.com and check out your digital copy today. Transform your expertise into success with Expert in You magazine. It's not just a publication, it is a movement. What are some of the hardest things and even some ways, or maybe you can even give an example of something that was really hard to help someone get through, and then how you helped them do that, and then what was the result of that?
I don't really coach people, right? I teach coaches about neuroscience.
But do
So,
you have to, I'm sure, have that with them too?
yes, I have had, yeah. So
Scared.
one of my big passions is about the mind-body connection, right? And so we're a mind-body system, and the mind and the body are one and the same thing. And so you can't go around not exercising, eating a junk food diet, and think that you're going to perform optimally mentally. You're not going to. You might perform well, but imagine if you took care of your physical health, how much better you could perform. So there was a client that I had, and she was brilliant. She was a portfolio manager, but her self-esteem was through the floor. And so over several weeks, I mean, nothing happened. I could not help her with her self-esteem, but I kept telling her, or I kept encouraging her to get off the junk food. And then one day she called me, said she's gotten off the junk food. And 3 days later, she says, I can't believe it. My brain fog has gone away. Her self-esteem went up. So it can be as simple as that.
It's interesting. So something I don't know if you really knew this about me, but I was in the health and fitness field for 20 years.
No, I didn't know that.
I had health clubs and training studios and weight loss centers, and those were 4 of my businesses. And we used to see that all the time. Women, or it could be men too, but they would come in, they were depressed and nothing was right in their life. But when they started eating right, they started exercising, and they started taking care of themselves and losing weight, they would just blossom into this completely different person.
Well, research shows that now too, that exercise is a great antidote to depression and anxiety.
Yes.
And then also diet, right? And sleep, actually, all 3 of those.
Yes. Sleep is a huge factor too. And I think this happens with a lot of entrepreneurs. They get so wrapped up in what they're doing that they aren't eating right. They aren't exercising. And I have even been guilty, and I even know better. I've even helped thousands of people do this. But it's easy to get really wrapped up. Like, I'm working on my 4th book. So I've been putting a lot of time and energy into that book. And it's really easy to all of a sudden these hours go by and you're like, wow, I haven't really eaten very well today, or I haven't, exercised today, or I haven't done whatever, or my weight all of a sudden recently, like in the last couple of years, got out of control, even though I knew better. And I knew, things just get in the way. Right. And so you have to realize, like you said, we're not performing at our best. I know for me, it held me back in my confidence, and I didn't want to get on stages as much. And there were just things that I knew I was not taking the actions or doing because I didn't feel my best. And so that it's such a driver. We don't even realize how much of an emotional driver it is for us. But I love that you actually shared that, because all of these things really do matter when you are trying to do better things in your life, whatever that is. They all make.
And sometimes, yeah, and sometimes, like I described with my clients, sometimes it is just about cleaning up your diet, exercise, and sleep, and the results can be dramatic.
Yeah.
And I see that with because I have my students do a final assignment, and most of them do it's a case study or a self-reflection. It's not onerous, just so I don't want to scare anyone. It's only like 3 to 5 pages long. And a lot of them have embraced the mind-body connection. And so they do talk about it with their clients. Yeah.
Well, it goes back to, if you think about somebody they have, maybe they're insecure, how do they typically walk, right? Or how do they carry themselves? They're going to be looking down, their shoulders are probably going to roll, like there's body language that goes along with that. When someone is confident, they're going to be open, they're going to be sitting back, their chin is going to be up, their eyes are going to be looking at you. I mean, the body language. So it isn't just from the energies, internal energy, but it also shows outward energy as well. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. And you can tell, like when people are going through a hard time or they're down or whatever, you can see it in how they carry themselves and in their body. So I think it's so fascinating what you do. And tell us some of the things that people could do today to start making some real shifts or changes to accomplish things that they really want to accomplish, but it just hasn't happened.
Break goals down into small steps, and small steps that small enough that you can be successful on that step. And the reason for that is that when you're successful on a task, you get a release of dopamine, and which is the feel-good hormone.
Mm-hmm.
And dopamine predicts success on the next task. So you could set up your day as a series of small tasks, right, that you can have success on. And if you start your day that way, it can set you up for a really productive day. So that's what I do. I mean, there are days, right? Well, we all have them where we just don't feel like working, but not working is not an option.
Right.
So I choose something small that's still important to do, but that keeps me moving forward and that I can have success on that task. And it's amazing how it can set you up for a productive day. And I've taught this to many, many coaches, and they all agree. It sets them up for a productive day. So just start your day with a small task that you can succeed on. But you don't have to start with the hardest thing first. For some people, that might work. But, you know, we're individuals also. So find, you know, if that doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for me. I kind of need to prime the pump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to kind of know how you're wired. Just get started. We used to tell people, if you just start working out for 3 minutes, just give yourself 3 minutes, and dopamine will kick in, adrenaline will kick in, and then you'll go longer. And then you'll find yourself going longer. And no, I think that's a really good takeaway for people to just get started. And just what is something that you can do? What is something that will just get you into action? And really, that's what we're talking about, is just getting yourself into action to be able to take the next thing. So many people, I think, and entrepreneurs, I believe, really get stuck in this. They're looking for the finish line, always for the finish line. And what they don't realize, and one of the things I talk about is all through the years, I've done a lot of things, a lot of programs and worked with mentors and a lot of things that at the time didn't really, the value for what I thought I bought into wasn't there, but there was always value, and it always was able to be utilized or pulled back up later, even though I couldn't see the big picture of how that would come into play later. And I think if you start to look at everything as a gain, every step, everything you're doing is another, we talked about rungs on the ladder, right? Everything is another step on the ladder to get to the top. And you start looking at every step up the mountain as a gain. You're that much closer. You're that much closer. I think people would feel differently about that process. What kind of insights or mindset or neuroscience do you have around that? Or how could you add to what I said there and in the way you would think about it?
The way I think about it, because I mean, some failures are inevitable, right? Some things just don't work. And I mean, it can.
But you can learn from them. It's not like you failed.
Yeah,
you just learn.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lesson.
Like you learn that it doesn't work this way.
It doesn't work.
Right?
Yeah. What about Edison?
That
right?
way doesn't work.
Yeah.
So that's what you've learned. What can you do? So it's really changing your belief around that, right? And so I have another client story.
Okay. I love this because I think people
coaching,
see themselves in this. Yes.
Yeah. He was a young guy, young married with a young family who had a tutoring business. And he would call up school principals. And he felt that he had to have a sale on the first call. Right. And so I helped him change his belief that, and showed him that how many calls does it take now in order to have a sale? Probably 10 calls,
Yeah, it's like 7 to 11
something, 7
touches.
to
Yeah.
11. Yeah. And I, and so we changed. So the first call was just a get to know me call, right? An introduction. And then he had this, like he had to do 10 calls a day, but he was a shy guy. He wasn't going to do 10 calls a day. So we scaled that back to 3 calls. And now he has 2 locations.
Mm.
And I don't know how many coaches he's got. We've kind of lost touch, but I see him around on LinkedIn. But I know that he's got 2 locations and he's expanded. Yeah.
That's great.
So he changed his belief about failure.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I love too the way you just had him scale it back just to get more comfortable and to do it. So many people just won't do it. They just, won't take the action at all. So that's a really great way. Sometimes as coaches, we can tend to be, we want to help. I know for me, like I want to help people get they're expecting results fast. I want to help them get results fast. And so sometimes we do have a tendency to maybe what's the word I'm looking for? Give them to maybe more than than they really can do or are quite ready for. And so, yeah, I think that that's some of it too, to be able to dial it back and say, okay, let's just get you started with this. For me, a lot of times it's just getting them consistent with something, just figuring out that strategy and getting them very consistent with that strategy, not overdoing, but just we've got to build consistency here. You haven't been consistent with anything. Things have been too scattered. That's why they're not working. And so it's just recognizing those things. But that's a great story. I love that. And I think that's a great takeaway for people. What is something that you really want people to get from this podcast today as we're talking that you really want to get across to them?
But a lot of it also depends on how much energy you have. So you should plan your hard cognitive tasks for the part of the day, for the portion of the day where you have the most energy. So I'm a morning person. I wake up at 5 or 5:30 in the morning. And if I don't get my hard cognitive work done by noon, it's not going to get done at all, right? Because by the afternoon, my brain is tired, and because your brain does get tired. So make sure that your hard cognitive work, you do that during those times when you have the most energy.
Yeah, that's so
And then
true.
also rest, right? So about the 10,000 hour rule.
Yes.
Right. But there's more to the 10,000 hour rule than just the 10,000 hours.
But share it with everybody because other people won't know.
Yeah. So in the original research, it was 10,000 hours, but it was at the rate of 4 hours a day for, I don't know how many years, for 10 years maybe, but 4 hours a day. So they're not working 8 hours a day. So the 4 hours a day was their hard cognitive work. The rest of the time they spent the 3 or 4 hours a day in kind of tangential activities that were not their hard cognitive work, but something on the side that was related.
Productive.
Yeah, something that was related. So they might do some reading about that, about their topic. They also had 8 hours of sleep a night. They also tended to take naps in the afternoon too. So rest is just as important as the work.
Yeah, that's so good. I have one of the things that I used to tell people too is same thing is what is your best time of the day? When are you just like all in? I'm very much like you, Irena. I am like by noon, I start winding down a little bit. Like that's actually when I love to do like podcasts and shows and things like that, because to me, these things are just fun. And they're not things that take a lot of time. They don't really take a lot of my energy. For some people though, this would be just the opposite, right? Like it would suck all it would be the hard thing, but for me, it's not. And so I have to do all my really focused kind of work first thing in the morning, up till about noon or 1 o'clock, and then things start winding down. But it's interesting, as we were talking about exercise and everything. When I owned fitness businesses, I used to have to be in the gym sometimes at 4 and 4:30 in the morning for some of those programs. And people would be like, how can you do that? But now I've since seen, through the years working with entrepreneurs, I've seen people say, if we always said exercise can get you going, it can get you. But one thing that I heard that I had never really thought about is, if that is your most productive time of the day for your business, maybe that's not the best time to do exercise. Maybe you need to move that to later in the day. Like, you really have to figure out what's going to work for you and how you're wired, and kind of adapt your schedule to that. I think that's one of the hardest things for entrepreneurs to do.
Yeah, I have a story about that too. That's a personal story. So my daughter will go to the gym for 8:15 in the morning. I can't do that because I find that I'm so tired that it affects the rest of my day. And it also affects, that's when I get my best work done. So I go at 4:30 in the afternoon after my work day is done. On the weekends, I'll go at 9:30 on Sunday morning. And then if I want to do some work after that, I am bone tired, like I'm dead tired. And I just don't have the energy to do it. So you have to find, when is the optimal time for you?
Yeah. That's something I had to learn as I was working with entrepreneurs, because obviously when I was running a fitness business, I was like, get in here in the morning before you go to work and get it done, or you won't want to get it done. And, or, if you come in after, come in at night or whatever. But I had to really learn that as I started working with entrepreneurs. Gosh, guess what, Anne? Everybody's not wired that way. And so, yeah, you do have to figure out what's going to work for you. But you also have to know, like, if I wait until this time, I won't do it at all. And so then there's that. So it is a balance. It is really just finding what works for you. But this has been such a great conversation. Anything you want to share on final words here?
You're not stuck with the brain that you think you have now, right? The brain is plastic and you can change it, and you have more control over your brain than you think.
So good. And so true. Just make a different decision. We can make different choices. We can make different decisions. What was Jim Rohn said? You can change. You're not a tree. I heard that years ago. And that's so true. And I think so many people stay stuck because they think, I've had all this in my past and all this trauma, and they just stay there, and they don't ever move forward. And sometimes it's an awareness thing. And sometimes I don't know.
Sometimes it is really hard for people, right? When it's a trauma, it is hard for a lot of people to get past that. And I know some people can get past it easily, but not everyone can.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is why we have experts like you to help them. So this has been so great. How can people get a hold of you? And we'll put all of your information and everything in the show notes as well. But
they can find me at neuroscience-school.com.
Perfect. And she does educate coaches. So her program is designed to help you really be a better coach. And I've learned just from being on her show and from having her on this show, I've learned some new little tricks that I am going to apply to my business as well. So thank you so much for being here. This has been fun.
Thank you so much, Anne. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you for sharing. And all right, everyone, I know that you got value from this. So please like the podcast, share it, get the word out. I know other people will need to hear this, and we'll want to connect with Dr. O'Brien and get to know her and see her programs and all of that. So make sure you share it. I always say sharing is caring. And we're trying to get the show up there into the top 1% of podcasts. So we would love for your help to do that. So if you could subscribe to the show and again, share it out there, that really helps. And until next time, go rock your business. God bless you. Have an amazing day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in today. If you're as excited as I am about scaling up your influence, business, and bank account, then I have just the thing for you. But first, make sure you subscribe to the show. Second, make sure you share it with someone you care about, because sharing is caring. And third, head on over to join me in my next free virtual exclusive workshop, where we'll explore proven strategies to boost your business and maximize your potential. Look, it doesn't matter if you're just starting out or if you're looking to take your business to the next level. My workshops are designed for you. So head on over to expertinyouworkshop.com to reserve your spot and get ready to transform your expertise into extraordinary success. I'm looking forward to seeing you there and helping you achieve incredible growth. Until next time, make sure you're always seeking the expert in you, and God bless. Have an amazing day.